Welcome in, everyone. Today's deep dive takes us into an article called Think Outside the Box, Creative Strategies for Generating Ideas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's actually, it's in Arabic.
Okay.
And the thing that really caught my eye was how, it's not just theory. It's really practical advice for, boosting your creativity, really actionable stuff.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is how it kind of reframes the whole idea of creativity right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
It challenges this whole idea of you're either born with it or you're not.
Right, like you're either a creative person or you're not.
Exactly.
And it really, explicitly says that creativity is a learned skill.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, that's such a release to hear because,
Totally.
it means that no matter where you are now, you can get better at it.
Absolutely. It's so empowering, right?
Yeah.
When you view it as a skill, it's like, okay, now I've got this toolbox I can practice. I can experiment. I can develop techniques that work for me. Imagine feeling more confident tackling a challenge at work.
Right.
Or coming up with a new solution, in your personal life or something.
Right. So how do we actually do that, though? Like,
Well,
what are the tools?
yeah, the article dives right into brainstorming, but with a twist.
Okay.
It mentions the Stanford study suggesting that group brainstorming actually can lead to more creative and original ideas than, solo efforts.
Better to work with other people on this.
Yeah, there's a real power in collaboration, and it's not just about more brains working on the same problem. It's about, those diverse perspectives.
Yeah, clashing and...
Yeah, and sparking new ideas.
That makes sense.
So think about it in your own life. Are there opportunities where you can collaborate more? Whether it's at work or in a volunteer group or even just with friends on a project or something?
I love that. And I also love that the article brings up lateral thinking.
Yeah.
Which sounds very complex.
Right.
But it's really just about shifting your perspective a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
To give an example.
Okay.
Imagine you're designing a new product.
Okay.
Instead of just thinking about, like, how to improve upon the current version of the product, think about it in a totally different context.
Okay.
Like, how might this function in the distant future?
Oh, wow.
Or, what would this look like in a completely different environment?
Interesting.
Just to get you thinking differently about it.
Yeah, lateral thinking really forces you to challenge those assumptions.
Right.
And step outside of, those mental ruts we can get stuck in.
Yeah. Totally. And if you apply that to the bigger picture, it's really about, approaching problems from unexpected angles. So suddenly you're finding solutions that you never would have thought of before.
Exactly.
It's like giving your brain a good workout.
Yeah. Love it.
And speaking of workouts, the article then gets into divergent thinking.
Okay.
And this is all about generating as wide a range of ideas as possible. So it's about resisting that urge to find, like, the one right answer.
Right.
And instead embracing multiple possibilities.
I like that.
Yeah.
So instead of that one right answer, it's like, okay, what are all the possible answers?
Yeah, what if there are 10 right answers?
Exactly. And the article highlights a study, actually,
Oh, okay.
from the Creativity Research Journal, showing that people who regularly practice divergent thinking come up with more original and innovative ideas.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So think about it in your own life. How can you challenge yourself to explore more diverse ideas?
Yeah.
Maybe that means, actively seeking out different opinions or approaching a problem from multiple perspectives on purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's like expanding your mental horizons, right?
Exactly.
So the article also talks about the influence of our environment on creativity.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it talks about, how new and diverse stimuli can really spark creative thinking.
Okay.
Whether it's traveling to new places or just trying something you've never done before.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, think about a time when you traveled somewhere new.
Yeah.
Or tried something completely different. Did you notice any kind of shield in your thinking? A fresh perspective, maybe?
Right, like you're looking at the world through new eyes.
Exactly. That's the power of, exposing yourself to different cultures and environments.
Yeah, it's like giving your mind new ingredients to work with.
I like that.
So now the article doesn't just stop at generating ideas.
Okay.
It also emphasizes that creativity is about taking action.
Right.
Like you got to actually do something with these ideas.
Yeah, it's about bridging that gap between inspiration and action. You can have the most brilliant idea in the world, but if you don't have a plan,
Right.
the motivation to see it through, and the ability to adapt when things change,
It'll just be stuck.
it'll never go anywhere.
Yeah, it's like having a recipe but never actually cooking the dish.
Exactly.
And speaking of personalizing things, the article digs into personality traits that are often linked with creative individuals.
Okay, like what?
So things like curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
a love of exploring new things,
Yeah.
a persistent, like, I won't give up attitude,
Yeah,
and of course, openness to new experiences.
that makes sense.
Do any of these resonate with you?
They do. I mean, what's so fascinating is that these aren't fixed traits.
Oh, what?
These are qualities that we can cultivate.
Oh, interesting.
You know, and the article even mentions this Harvard University study that found that people with greater mental flexibility and adaptability are better at generating creative ideas.
Hmm.
So think about it. The more flexible you are,
Right.
the more easily you can embrace change and challenge those assumptions that might be holding you back.
Right. And that brings us to a really interesting point.
Oh, okay.
The article talks about the importance of a supportive and collaborative work environment
Ah.
to foster creativity.
So it's not just about individual effort, it's about the culture you're in.
Exactly.
Right? A culture of openness, cooperation,
Yeah,
mutual support that can really be like an incubator for creativity.
that makes sense.
You know, when you feel safe to share your ideas, to experiment, and even to fail without judgment,
Right.
that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, it's the opposite of like a restrictive environment where your creativity is stifled.
Absolutely. And there's actually research to back this up.
Oh, wow.
The article cites this study from the Harvard Business Review that found that companies that embrace a culture of creativity and innovation are more successful and profitable.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it highlights the value of investing in employees, giving them resources to think creatively,
Right.
fostering a collaborative atmosphere.
It's like creating fertile ground for those creative seeds to grow.
Exactly. And the article goes even further.
Okay.
It talks about how creativity applies across all sorts of fields.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just art, it's not just science, it's business, everything.
Like every aspect of life.
Exactly. It emphasizes that creativity is not limited to any specific domain.
Right.
It's a universal force that can be used to solve problems, to come up with new products, to improve processes, anything you can imagine.
It's just like a superpower you can use anywhere.
I love that.
So we've talked about a ton of techniques and concepts so far, but how do we actually put all this into practice?
Right. Well, that's where the article's concluding message comes in, and it's pretty powerful.
Okay.
It urges us to believe in our ability to make a difference. And not just in coming up with ideas, but actually using them to make a positive impact on the world.
So it's not enough to just have the idea. You have to do something with it.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really inspiring.
Okay.
The article emphasizes that each of us has a unique perspective and set of skills,
Mm-hmm.
and it encourages us to not underestimate our own creativity and its potential to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. I love that it's a reminder that we're not just passive bystanders in this world.
Right. We can actually shape it.
We have the power to shape the world around us, to improve it, to leave our mark, and it all starts with believing in our own creative potential.
It's like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly.
But the article goes even deeper.
Okay.
It reminds us that even small acts of creativity can have a ripple effect.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a pebble dropped in a pond.
Right.
Those ripples spread out. They impact more than just the initial point of contact.
And so it's the same with our creative efforts.
Exactly. Even the small things can make a difference.
So what does this all mean for our listener?
Well,
What's the core message they can take away today?
I think the article leaves us with a very clear call to action.
Okay.
It urges us to actively cultivate our own creative potential, to embrace new experiences, and to strive to make a positive impact on the world.
Mhm.
It's a message of hope and empowerment, a call to act.
Yeah, it really is inspiring to think about that ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we ensure that, those ripples are positive?
Right.
The article also doesn't shy away from the importance of collaboration, especially when it comes to actually making a difference in the world.
Absolutely. It goes beyond just working together on a project.
Right.
The article specifically highlights the need for organizations and companies to really promote a culture where creativity can thrive.
So it's not just about individual effort, it's also about the environment we're in.
Exactly. It's about shifting away from, those rigid structures and really embracing a more open and collaborative approach.
Okay.
The article suggests that companies that invest in their employees, that provide resources to spark creative thinking,
Mm-hmm.
that encourage cross-departmental collaboration. These are the companies that are going to succeed.
It's like building that supportive ecosystem where
Exactly.
those creative seeds can flourish.
Yeah.
It makes sense when you feel supported and encouraged, you're more likely to take risks to, push boundaries
Absolutely.
and then to come up with those groundbreaking ideas.
And the article gives some real-world examples of companies that are actually doing this. They're designing their workspaces to encourage interaction and brainstorming. They're offering flexible work arrangements, really fostering that culture of open communication and feedback.
And are they seeing the results of that?
Oh, yeah. It's inspiring to see how these companies are benefiting from this approach.
Yeah.
They're attracting top talent. They're developing innovative products and services. They're really staying ahead of the curve in this constantly evolving world.
So it all comes back to believing in our ability to make a difference.
It really does. And the article's final words really drive this home.
Okay.
They call on each of us to use our creativity to build a brighter future for everyone, emphasizing that, every idea is a seed of hope
Oh, I love that.
that can blossom and bear fruit for all humanity.
That's beautiful. What a beautiful message.
Yeah.
So this has been a fantastic deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
Really reminding us that creativity is, it's a gift, it's a skill, and ultimately it's a responsibility. And it's up to each of us to nurture it and share it and use it to make the world a more beautiful and fulfilling place.
Couldn't agree more.
So thanks for joining us today, everyone. And until next time, keep those creative sparks flying.